Out of the 9 Australians arrested, 7 were sentenced to life imprisonment, with 2 ringleaders being sentenced to death by firing squad. They are Miriam Sukumaran and Andrew Chan.
My name is Andrew Chan, and I'm currently detained in Indonesia, Bali, and I've been sentenced to death by firing squad. I've been detained here since April 17, 2005. It's coming up to my 9th consecutive year. Some of you might have heard of me, and some of you might not have. Now, the reason why I'm writing you this letter is to address you guys about the dangers of drugs and the effects that it can have on you and also others. I know that several of you at the moment are frowning and thinking in your mind, what does this have to do with me? But the truth is that drugs are a part of our society these days. Maybe you're not taking them yourself, and maybe some of you are, but most of you, you'd know someone that is. To tell you a little bit about my life story, I was once 15 or 16, and it wasn't too long ago I was sitting in a class just like you guys. I was an average kid, and let me tell you that my teachers didn't like me one bit, and I was no teacher's pet. But to cut a long story short, I got mixed up with drugs at a pretty young age, and by the time I was 15, I was merged into the scene. I was just like most of you, trying to hide things from my parents and my family, but in the end, things spiraled out of control. I've seen many friends pass away, and I'm sure if they had a second chance to do things differently now, they would have. I have done things which I am not proud of in my life, and I made some pretty stupid decisions. I'm a person to say this because all you have to do is type me up on Google, and I'm sure you get the results, death row. Most of you don't know what it's like to have everything taken away from you in life, and it will be hard for you to comprehend or see where I am coming from. But take it from me, if I thought about the things I did before I did them, I wouldn't be sitting where I am today. Every criminal would tell you they didn't think they would be caught for their crimes. But as the saying goes, your past comes and catches up with you.
Even though after 9 years on death row, he had converted to Christianity, became an ordained priest, started an orphanage, and helped so many others in the prison, he was still executed.
But since his imprisonment, he has turned his life around and recently became an ordained minister. He also had started an orphanage for underprivileged children, and before his execution, he tried to warn others of following in his path. In the end, he stoically accepted his fate, but wanted to pass on an important message for other teenagers. He created this video so that you would not make the same mistakes and end up like him or many of his friends, addicted, dead, executed, or in jail.
Andrew Chan was a drug courier and clearly broke the law. But what about the victims of drug use?
Georgina Barter was a cautious girl, but one who took the wrong risk. At just 19, Georgina tragically died after collapsing at the Harbour Life dance party in Sydney on November 8, 2014. It's believed she overdosed after taking just 1.5 pills of ecstasy. She was found convulsing on the ground and subsequently arrived at a hospital in critical condition. With only a 10% chance of survival, the doctors desperately tried everything they could to save her, but she later died from multiple organ failure. She was a girl just like us. Georgina played hockey, joined the flute ensemble, and took ballet lessons. She also joined the choir and represented her school in swimming. She also did lots of volunteering, such as for Dreams to Live For.
Her family and friends said that she was a bright, confident, hard-working, bubbly, infectiously funny, and a sensible young woman, whose nature was to err on the side of caution. She wasn't a risk-taker. She always had the ability to laugh at herself with humility. Her sister called her a guidance counsellor, a teacher, and someone who always was there for her family. Her school friends described her as selfless, genuine, and full of life.
But despite her cautious nature, her parents were shocked at Georgina's lapse of judgment. A split-second decision has left them broken-hearted, devastated, and bewildered. At her eulogy, her uncle said, "It was a lapse of judgment. We did not miss any signs. There were no signs." People usually get to learn from their mistakes, but Georgina didn't.
Paramedics have revealed they are treating hundreds of partygoers on a typical Sunday festival day with MDMA, ecstasy, being one of the most popular drugs.
Recent drug busts have found party pills having an average purity rating of less than 10%, with pills containing lots of chemicals to bulk them out.
Unpredictability is a key issue when taking an illegal substance. If you don't know what dosage, you can't be sure of how your body will react. That's what happened to Georgina.
But the tragedy does not end there. It was Georgina's best friend who supplied her with the drugs that killed her. Now she's not only mourning the death of her best friend, but also has to live with the guilt of having supplied the substances that killed her.
Don't accept drugs from anybody, no matter how pure they claim it is. But why should you even try it in the first place?
Instead of supplying drugs, best friends should be warning you not to take drugs. Be a friend.
As a citizen and as a parent, I am appalled at what is happening on our streets and in our homes. Ice is far more addictive than any other illicit drug. It does far more damage than any other illicit drug. The propensity to violence, the propensity to subsequent very serious mental illness, the propensity to disfigurement, which ice produces, means that this is a drug epidemic way beyond anything that we have seen before now. And I am determined that right around our country we will take every possible step to combat this dreadful, dreadful scourge. So today I am announcing the establishment of a national ice task force that will be headed by former Victorian Police Commissioner Ken Lay to ensure that in every state and territory we are taking this menace seriously.
Christopher Blair had it all. The father of two young daughters had a good job following honourable discharge from the Navy, where he qualified as a mechanic. He and his wife, Belinda, were planning on adding a third child to their family.
The frightening case of Christopher Blair shows how quickly ice can take a vice-like grip on a new user and send their life spiralling out of control. Blair was introduced to the drug by friends he usually shared a social drink with. He said ice grabbed him immediately, and the focus of his life became finding the money to support his drug habit. He took part in a string of break-and-enters and robberies in 2013 and 2014, resulting in a pile of stolen goods. In one, all he managed to do was find a tub of ice cream, but in his desperation it drove him eventually to break into clubs, shops and cafes, and that's where the police finally caught up with him.
Mrs. Blair told court she watched her husband disappear. He became emaciated. She could not even trust him with their children. His mother, Karen Ann Collins, said she was at her wit's end.
Shocking drug abuse transformations. Amy Thompson. It is a jarring contrast to see pictures of Scottish teenager Amy Thompson before and after that fateful June night when she incurred brain damage upon taking an ecstasy pill. Beforehand, the glamorized 16-year-old looked flashy, well-dressed, and well, like your typical fashion-oriented teenager. Now, a video recently posted to Facebook shows a wheelchair-bound and pallid-looking Amy unable to move her arms while heavily slurring her speech. She was reportedly admitted to a Glasgow hospital after taking a crystal capsule of MDMA at a house party, at which time she was put into a medically induced coma for several weeks. Adora. This rapid 5-year regression of Adora from age 48 to 53 demonstrates the impact of what is known as meth mouth. Here, the meth addiction has brought on a dramatic level of decay and grinding, leading to a rather grotesque loss of teeth and a woman who appears to have aged far more than just 5 years. The galling effects of the drugs have also taken their toll on her unkempt, greasy hair, her stained, ashen skin, and through the bruising, scratch marks, and skin damage that can be seen all across the left side of her face and along her forehead. Female, 25. The presence of a hideous, widespread rash of red bumps across this woman's face points to what is likely an addiction to an opiate like Oxycontin or heroin. While she otherwise looks, for the most part, like a normal 20-something female, the red bumps highlight the multifaceted effects the drug can have. If you can look past her irritated skin, you will notice that her previously full, fleshy face has grown gaunt and narrow. Her stringy, greasy hair also suggests a lack of proper emphasis on normal hygiene. Male, 25. Given the reddened flesh and burn-like skin tone of this meth addict, it seems reasonable to assume that drug abuse has left its mark through sores and scarring. It is common for meth users to hallucinate while on the drug, with a sensory feeling of bugs under the skin being particularly typical. Perhaps then this young man incurred a brought-on self-mutilation by his obsessive scratching while on meth. Meth mouth is also clearly visible here, with swelling and redness circling his mouth and his teeth becoming increasingly yellowed. Female, 43. It's unknown what circumstances occurred that led to this woman ultimately getting that creepy glass eye, but chances are you probably don't want to know that story. Plus, there is plenty else to focus on to highlight the extent of her addiction, what with a sunken chest that showcases her collarbone, and some pronounced wrinkles that make her after picture look far older than the 10 years that separate her from her before picture. Her face also reveals some pockmarks and a somewhat mangled forehead. But let's be honest, it's the glass eye, one that clearly wasn't there 10 years earlier, that stands out here. We hope this video maybe scared some sense into you, or just grossed you out.
Even with the overwhelming amount of easily accessible drugs in Hollywood, it's still surprising when our favorite celebrities succumb to the pressures of the industry. An occasional marijuana joint turns into a full-blown drug addiction for many stars. These 10 famous people became addicted to drugs, and despite numerous rehab attempts, their drugs of choice quickly ruined their lives. Pete Doherty, the English musician and frontman of the Libertines, became the subject of tabloid magazines, not because of his music, because of his drug addiction. The former boyfriend of supermodel Kate Moss was arrested for multiple drug offenses, including driving under the influence and possession of crack cocaine, heroin, cannabis, and ketamine. The singer has been locked up in jail and forced into rehab to kick his habit. Things got really out of control when he not only started using drugs, but he was also selling them to support his addiction. His fast and drug-fueled lifestyle has definitely taken a toll on his looks, and the rocker is hardly recognizable to fans. Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson's career became overshadowed by his drastically changing appearance, his zany antics, and his death that was marked by drug abuse. The king of pop struggled with prescription drug use for years, and following his death, it was confirmed that his drug of choice was an anesthetic called propofol. In 2009, the singer took a lethal dose of the medication, which is a powerful sleeping aid. Unfortunately, he never woke up again. Charlie Sheen. Charlie Sheen didn't try very hard to hide his partying ways. The actor was well known for going on cocaine binges for days, and he frequently threw drug-fueled parties with porn stars and prostitutes as his guests of honor. He spent thousands of dollars each and every day on his drug habit, and although it was apparent to onlookers that he had a serious problem, the actor casually described his out-of-control life as a ton of fun. But the fun came to an end when Charlie admitted to being HIV positive, and it's pretty certain that being under a constant drug haze contributed to his promiscuous sexual behavior. Lindsay Lohan. Actress Lindsay Lohan was rising to the top of the entertainment food chain, but her addiction to drugs quickly tarnished her reputation. The talented redhead's promising career was cut short when she became a frequent attendee at Hollywood parties and bars. A series of drug-related arrests and rehab stints followed, and Lindsay admitted during an interview with Oprah Winfrey that cocaine was her drug of choice. Her acting career is all but over, and we can't help but wonder how successful she would have been in Tinseltown if drugs hadn't ruined her life. Amanda Bynes. Child actress Amanda Bynes saw her career spiral out of control when she introduced drugs into her life. The actress became increasingly paranoid and took to her social media accounts to lash out at fellow celebrities, like the rapper Drake. The police eventually put her under psychiatric hold after she started a small fire in the driveway of her neighbor's home. It was later discovered that not only did she have a drug addiction, but she was also schizophrenic and bipolar. Her mother is now taking care of her, but we doubt Amanda will ever be able to work in Hollywood again. Lamar Odom. Lamar Odom had a promising career in the NBA, and he even managed to win 2 championship rings with the Los Angeles Lakers. But after marrying Khloe Kardashian, the former basketball player's drug addiction was uncovered. In October 2015, he was found unconscious in a Nevada brothel after an overdose. Although he was given a new lease on life, his drug addiction has proven to be stronger than his desire to stay sober. Khloe has filed for divorce after it was revealed Lamar's returned to boozing and smoking crack. His NBA career is over, his marriage is over, and drugs have left his life in shambles. Whitney Houston. R&B singer Whitney Houston struggled with drug addiction for years. What was once a secret in the industry became public knowledge when Whitney admitted during an interview with Diane Sawyer that she had used drugs previously, but her addiction was in the past. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case, and Whitney drowned in a bathtub in a Beverly Hills hotel. The coroner later ruled her death was caused by the effects of atherosclerotic heart disease and cocaine use. Amy Winehouse. When Amy Winehouse released the song Rehab, little did we know she would soon die after more than a few drug interventions. The singer was frequently photographed walking the streets of London looking incoherent, strung out, and in a daze. In August 2007, she overdosed on a lethal mix of heroin, cocaine, ecstasy, ketamine, and whiskey and vodka. Her life and promising singing career was abruptly cut short. Britney Spears. Britney Spears has been in the music industry since her teenage years, and the pressures of being one of the hottest singers definitely took its toll on her. Suddenly, cranking out the hits was placed on the back burner, and Britney became a full-time party girl. Her late-night partying, complete with drug binges, landed her in rehab and psychiatric ward. Her family was finally able to step in and remove the bad influences from her life, including her former manager Sam Lutfi, who was accused of fueling her habit. Today, Britney's life, career, and finances are controlled by her father, who was granted legal conservatorship. Heath Ledger. Heath Ledger is one celebrity who was able to keep his drug use on the hush-hush. The actor was filming the movie The Dark Knight when he was found dead in his Manhattan apartment. The shocking news of his passing revealed his double life as a drug addict. A mix of prescription and non-prescription drugs were found in his system, including oxycodone, hydrocodone, diazepam, and more. Following his death, news of the actor's failed rehab attempt made headlines. According to sources, Heath had tried to quietly kick his drug habit before filming The Dark Knight. His attempt was unsuccessful, and he paid the cost with his life. Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to The Taco.
Last Friday, someone offered me if I wanted to try this drug.
Did you accept it? No, I didn't. But him and his mates seemed really light-minded about it. Like it was no big deal. Like they were joking about taking drugs, but I think he meant it. Like he really had it with him and he was willing to let me try.
I think you have to be crazy to take it. Let's face it, you'll end up liking it so much you want it more. Effectively, you're addicted without even realizing it or admitting to it.
And that's how it starts. The dealers make money out of your desperation for more. In other words, they make money out of your misery.
What would you do? Drug addiction is not just a male thing. Almost as many girls take drugs as boys, and it seems girls are taking it more. Drug addiction can last a lifetime, probably a shorter lifetime. Even most old people who started young are still addicts. Imagine all that money spent on drugs could have been spent on better things. And what about the family and friends? The pain caused to them, they suffer too. You don't really know what's in that pill. You can't trust the people who made the drugs. There is no quality control by drug dealers. Get real. Like, can you end up suing them? The dealer is not your friend. He's using you. You're his paycheck.
Drugs are never worth trying.
It is now time for Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Alright contestants, you must answer each question correctly to proceed to the next challenge. Are you ready? Question 1. Is it just methamphetamine, also known as ice, the only extremely addictive drug?
No, all illicit drugs are highly addictive, and the more you use it the more addicted you become, whether you think so or not.
Question 2. Some people think they can just have drugs occasionally for recreation, thinking that they can avoid being addicted. What is the chance of this?
Highly unlikely. Most users, once they try it out, like it too much and want to keep using it, even if initially occasionally. But they are effectively addicted.
Question 3. Do you need those drugs?
Illicit drugs are just stimulants, and their effect wears out, leaving you more dopey and depressed than before you started. Using these drugs messes with your brain function and hormone balance. I would never use drugs. There are much better ways of dealing with problems, like chilling out, resting or talking to someone and praying. And there are better ways of getting yourself into a good mood for having a good time. It all comes down to attitude. Steer your life the right way.
Question 4. And what will happen if you deal in drugs?
The law will eventually catch up with you. Or rivals will try to put you out of business.
Well done contestants. So I guess it just comes down to respecting yourself. You never need to use drugs for non-medicinal purposes. They are never an option.